Okay, well, Jai Baba, everybody. Welcome to this session on the new life then and now, the history and significance of Meher Baba's new life from 16th October 1949 to the conclusion of Manonash in February 1952. And we actually will have a session where we talk about the free lives that follow, the complicated free life, the full free life and the fiery free life. So that is the subject. This is the 11th of these that we've had here at Meherana. The first having transpired in 2012. For those of us who remember it, it was a fond memory where we had the cities, the power, just to walk through walls, which was made easier by the fact that the walls weren't there. It was just sort of beams here. The roof is on top, but we've had it ever since that time. 9 days from the very beginning. This is the first program we've had, though, on a biographical and historical topic on Meher Baba's life. Everyone previously had been on his teachings, his message, his darshana, one way or another. So this is quite different. I haven't done this before, and I've done now in Tucson and LA and Moraga Bay Area shorter versions of this. And one thing that I have felt that I haven't liked about the way I did it was that I felt I talked too much. And the reason is that I don't exactly know how to have sessions that are basically narratives, stories, without just retelling stories. So I'd like to invite your help with this. It's very desirable to bring out some of the stories from the new life and retell them, as a matter of fact. We come into some of them and one of you would like to recount that story, I'd really invite you to do that. But beyond that, the topic is supposed to be the new life then and now. I sent to Daniel Stone, who some of you may know, this study guide, and he will give me criticisms, which I like, and they're very good ones. And he said, there's no now in the way you've written this up. It's all the new life then. And I have to acknowledge that is true, that there isn't any. So the now is to be supplied by this group now. That is to say, I'd like to pose this as a fundamental question. But many among Baba's family, I'd say there's been a consensus, have felt that the new life in some way has a unique and special significant bearing, pertinence to the life to posterity, to where humanity is going, to us. How is that so? How is that to be the case? And I'd like to just put that up as a perspective and a question that really we could raise at any point here.
Can you say the question again, please?
Yeah, no, good. Meher Baba, the thought has often been expressed. I first read it in Charles Purdam's The God Man, the first biography about Baba I read, that the new life seems to have a special pertinence to the life that humanity is going to lead in the future, and now also. How is that so? In what that is, it seems to have us bearing more than other parts of Baba's life do. I mean, all right, as Avatar, everything he did, I take to be of archetypal cosmic significance. I'm not questioning that. But this was the one time in his life where he stepped down from his God station and became an ordinary man. Actually, I've never read in the entire history of spirituality of another great master who did that. I mean, can you think of anyone? There are others who have renounced, the Buddha renounced. That's not unique. But to have attained to a certain station, in Meher Baba's case, of being the God-man or a perfect master was how they conceived of him. Many thought he was the avatar already, but he stepped down from that and emphatically said that he was not that anymore and would not allow people to treat him that way, and clearly indicated that being God, the God realization experience, was not in his consciousness anymore. I've never heard of such a thing. Have you? In the entire history of spirituality. So it seems we could, think about this as we go along, but it seems like a very extraordinary act. And like many others, I take it to be an avataric act. It was part of his enactment of avatarhood in this advent for him to cease to be that. And that would seem to make it of special pertinence to us, because he became like one of us. He became one of us. I mean, he was saying he had weaknesses and faults, and he was trying to overcome them all the time. So how is that so? How is this new life that we're going to read about particularly relevant to the humanity of the future and of the present? The new life has been, in our picture, for those of us, I came to Bhau in 1970, from the very beginning. It was always interest. I'm not really aware that it has been specially studied very much. Maybe individuals have done so. But are you guys aware of that? It's sort of been there, it's been in the picture, but I do think the time will come, and the time is coming, where people will start to look into it more and say, how do we live the new life? How do we actually do it? So I'm thinking maybe a week from today we could have a best Langotis competition. And Chris could take photos and we can put them up on the Meherana website. Just joking.
It wouldn't be a pretty sight.
It might have been prettier 50 years ago. Yeah. But so how exactly, is it to be led? Just to say, we'll be talking much more about this, but on like one matter, one of the themes of the new life was, in addition to know this and know that, there was no spirituality. Baba, wouldn't countenance talk about spirituality, and there was no master, no disciple. So even that was gone, except in one connection. Baba always insisted on complete, spontaneous, immediate, literal obedience to him. He was the master in that one respect, but in no others. You can see whether you agree with that, but it comes up all over the place. So if we're talking about living the new life now, how do we handle that part of it? Like immediate, spontaneous obedience to Baba. That would be there's a lot to unpack there, it seems to me. And broadly speaking, this seems to me to be the progression. I'm going to be interpretive here. It seems like there is scope for us to try to understand about the new life, and naturally to bring some amount of interpretation to it. I don't see how we can get anywhere if we don't speculate. knowing, of course, that we don't really know anything. But it looks, broadly speaking, like this, that Meher Baba, as part of his avataric work, gave up that state of knowing himself as God and became an ordinary seeker. And was full of faults. He said so. He said he was trying to overcome his faults, and when he committed a failing, he would have people, twist his ear, or kick him, or slap him, or spit on him, all of that. And I take it to be that he meant it, and that he really had committed faults, and that was for real. He wanted that. So he became an ordinary man. And the general progression of it, to me, looks like this, that for the first 10 months or a year, Baba was trying to live the new life with a group of companions. 20 set out with him at the very beginning. Plus, Kaikabad was actually part of it too, but he was sent directly to Dehradun. So he had this bunch of 20 companions, and it looks like he was really focused on trying to live the new life collectively with these people, and to get them to live the new life as he felt it should be lived, and himself to do it too. That is, he was really focused on the group a lot, and he was constantly correcting them, and he went through a training phase, and introduction to this and introduction to that. But one of the themes that comes out of the first year is that Baba was not at all satisfied with how the new life was being lived. He said so quite explicitly at the end of the first year. He stepped out of the new life for 4 hours, and he very definitely said that. So here's a big question that I would have. What was the problem exactly? I mean, there are certain things you can see. There was the New Life strike. There are two people, Ghani and Sadashev Patel, there are big problems with money and their houses they were supposed to donate. All right, we get that. But it seems to have gone beyond that. One point Baba said, there's a chasm between my understanding and yours. What was that? Okay, we're talking about a pack of losers, of course, people like Prasadi and Erish and Pendu and Baijul and Vishnu. Well, okay, they couldn't live the new life properly. Well, who is going to be able to do it? Or even not apart from that, what was he dissatisfied with? He wasn't trashing them. He was said it very nicely. But clearly, it was not up to the new life as he envisioned it. So it looks to me that after the first year, there was that big one-year anniversary, October 16th, 1950, right? Where Baba stepped out of the new life for 4 hours. We'll have a whole session on that. And it seems like from that time onward, Baba was doing it himself. And the people who were with him had to live the new life up to some kind of a standard, as well as a pack of losers like this could do. I'm being facetious, right? We're talking about the A team, right? Erich, Gustaji, but they had to sort of not mess up too badly. But meanwhile, he was going to do it himself. And it's very obvious in some of the activities that went on, like he was seeking out musts and a certain category of poor people, and he would bow down at their feet and so forth. Well, I suppose other people could do that. I suppose we could do it, bow down to somebody, but what would it mean? Obviously, it wouldn't mean much. So must have been something that he was doing uniquely through that work. At the end of that period, we're in 1951 now, January, February, Baba started a 100-day seclusion. And this is not one of the best known seclusions in the Baba world, but it appears to have been one of the most significant in his entire avatar career. And it had everything to do, apparently, with what followed, which was Manonash. So who else could do that? I'm going to try to make the point that it looks like Baba was doing it himself because no one else could. This is my interpretation. And that 100-day seclusion went directly into the Manonash period. And Baba announced it in June 1951 at Hyderabad. It was a big meeting in Hyderabad. The second big meeting in the New Life, where outsiders, old life people, were invited to attend and participate. And there he declared his intention of starting Manonash, which started on October 16, 1951. Now there too, who else could possibly do that? I mean, what on earth did he do in any case? And it came to a conclusion, it seems, at the beginning of February 1952. Manonash was completed to his full satisfaction, and the new life merged into what Baba called life, which was a combination of the old life and the new life. And that's the period we're talking about. So, but after that, there were these three phases of life: the complicated free life, full free life, and fire free life. And at the end of that, he declared himself publicly to be the avatar of the age. People had said this about him, but he hadn't himself said so, but now he declared, I am the highest of the high, and the ancient one, the avatar. So the overall progression looks like he becomes an ordinary man, tries to do it with others. They just are not able to. He completes it himself. He passes through the annihilation of mind and achieves the old life Meher Baba state, and then declares himself to be the avatar of the age. It looks quite meaningful. I mean, that's what, and you guys, does that strike you as plausible? This is interpretation, right? Baba didn't say this.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
It's sort of obvious in a way. I mean, obvious in the sense that we couldn't possibly know whether it's true or not, but it's kind of right on the face of it. Yeah, did you want to say something?
Well, Alan, use that red at the bottom of your table, otherwise they start crossing the cables.
Yeah, pass it in the mic.
Yeah, there's no switch, it's on.
Just on already, yeah.
Okay. I have an impression from people like Joseph Campbell and others that the lives that we lead are analogs for some other understanding or presentation. And so, in a sense, I often view Baba in his teaching and his practice as representative, as sort of a metaphor for some larger understanding. And to this point, I've always thought of the new life as just that. Baba replicating the path of evolution that he describes in his divine theme, and that he is practicing that, making it evident by personalizing the experience and starting, in a word, flat-footed, by surrendering his avataric awareness and having to proceed as if he had no illumination.
And I would take it to mean that he really didn't have it. He really renounced it or stepped down from it.
Is that even possible?
I know it's sort of mind-boggling. All right, just to say another thing about the new life, it's very puzzling in many, many ways. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah.
Well, it's he, like the first part of the new life, he later terminates and says it's a complete failure.
Yeah.
You know, so, and of course, I wonder, failure in what terms? From God's perspective, or
What was the failure?
the life? He said, I didn't do a good job, and you guys couldn't do it. And,
Over the first year.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
right.
you know, what brought that about?
I hope that's one of the questions we can really dig into over this week. What exactly did they fail in? There's going to be one very case that Bob talked about in April 1950 involving Bhau. And Baba has a big criticism of Bhau. You may have read, if you've read the book, I don't know if you noticed that. And I find that really odd. I can't quite understand it. You know? It seems like, I really wish that back in the days when Erich was there, I had known what I know now, because I would have read that passage to Erich and said, what was Baba dissatisfied with? What exactly did go wrong with you all? And by the way, I don't want to make it like the first year was a failure. That's really not true. Baba really said, all of the companions have really done their very level best according to their own lights. But something about it was not fully the new life. He really said that very much. And here's another thing I found, studying the new life in depth. Over that 2.5 years, a lot happened. It's like a big journey. And by the end of it, it's like, boy, Baba and his people have gone a long ways from the starting. And at the same time, my feeling is the new life didn't change. The new life is, and it simply is. But what changed was the work to try to realize it or experience it or live it. Yeah, Don?
I seem to recall, and I'm not sure where, that Baba had said that he was living parts of the new life so that posterity didn't have to.
Well, that comes up in 1950. The new life, one of the themes we'll be digging into, was that there are 4 phases of the new life. The labor phase, the Langoti phase, the gypsy phase, and the begging phase. In 1950, Baba said, okay, I'm going to do the Langoti, begging, and gypsy phase myself, and you guys are just going to do the labor phase. Now, one way of construing that is that's for posterity, that's the program. It's going to be the labor phase, and the other 3 will not be for humanity at large. I'm not completely persuaded of that. It seems to me that those other 3 phases might come up too. Maybe it's not the time at this very moment, but maybe you'll have I keep thinking of a St. Francis who comes along and, says, well, how about the apostolic life? I'm going to do it myself, and he did. So we'll have people like that who show up, who do the gypsy life, who do the Langoti. But maybe not. Maybe it's for all posterity, just the labor phase. So that's another question for this group to work out and settle definitively, so that people don't need to discuss it in the future, but can just go to your authoritative decision. Yeah.
Like the council.
A council, right. The Council of Meherana, 2024.
That's it.
But what if at the Council of the Meher Center or at the Council of the Heartland Center later this year, they disagree?
To what extent does the contemporaneous circumstance inform the new life?
Yeah.
Because new life occurred right after the departure of the Raj in partition,
Yeah.
Indian independence, the Chinese Revolution, the Korean War, and then Mao's progressive
Yeah.
programs of the Great Leap Forward and the Let a Thousand Flowers Bloom, culminating in the Great Cultural Revolution, which seems to be an analog for one superficial understanding of Baba and the new life.
You know, there is one message we'll get on the preparatory for the first anniversary meeting where Baba stepped out of the new life, where Baba refers to all the chaos going on and does give an indication that this is somehow related to the new life. But as he actually mentions, typhoons and famines and things like that as reflective of it. Yeah. Now here's another aspect of the new life. We'll read some of the messages in a minute. And there aren't many messages from the new life because Baba wasn't God. He didn't know anything. So we hardly, actually, he said so, right? So he wasn't discoursing in the way that he had done before and the way that he did after. By the way, right after declaring his avatarhood, he writes God Speaks, right? So it did not come. What is one of his messages during the new life? The prayer of repentance. Did you know that? Did you register?
1953?
But it may have been published then, but he actually dictated it during Manonash. Isn't that incredible? I mean, it's so appropriate. When I read the prayer of repentance originally way back when I first came to Baba, I sort of thought, we repent, O God most merciful, and I heard what Baba was saying and slapping his cheeks and everything, and it's sort of like, yeah, my compassionate Father is kind of identifying with me and all my lapses, but he's actually not doing it. I'm the one who's screwing up, not him, right? It's sort of that assumption. Well, that's not true. He was speaking out of the state where he was finding himself full of weaknesses. He said so. We'll read some passages very, very clearly. He was speaking out of the state that we're in right then. Here's another thing about the new, but the messages such as they are, there's just a couple. I mean, there are a lot of things Baba said, but they're kind of like what the next phase of the new life is going to be like, or what are the rules for begging, or what are the 3 plans. It's that kind of thing. Not general statements about spiritual truth, but in one of them, it's actually about the new life. But this new life is endless, and even after my physical death, we'll read that in a second. That message and others that he gave are almost entirely negative. They're a big, long list of don't do this and don't do that. It's very hard to find a positive term in these messages. I mean, if you haven't thought about that, read the Song of the New Life, right? Let catastrophe and calamity destroy the garden of your life, or the enjoyment of suffering. Well, do you guys enjoy suffering? If we really want to live the new life, we're going to have to change our cuisine a great deal. Put horrible things into it so that we can enjoy it. Because, it's all negative, and yet I remember very well, and others do, when some of the new life companions that we met, like Erich and Mani, I remember especially Erich, he was saying, what I can't explain to you is how free we were. Now, holy smokes. I mean, have you read some of those conditions? It's sort of like you can't do anything. To avoid breaking I couldn't continue 5 seconds without failing in some respect. How is that freedom? And yet, he was explaining it. I don't know, some of you may recall recall this, or maybe some of you are living in the new life, you can talk out of that direct experience. But he was saying, I remember one time he was taking us to Happy Valley, 4 miles from Marizad, and he was talking about the new life, and he said, I can't explain to you how free we were. Right now, Eric was saying, I have to think about, showing you around the valley and making sure somebody doesn't get lost, and you'll get back into the bus. And when you get back, you go back to where you're staying, and then I have to eat dinner and go to sleep and get up in the morning. Those are all part of his horizon. But he's saying, in the new life, there wasn't anything. We really were living in the present, in the immediate present, and the past and the future. They were sort of vaguely there, but they didn't impinge on the present at all. And that was freedom. That was real freedom. So this is another thing, just my opinion, my interpretation of the new life, is that the messages we read about the new life are not actually about the new life. What they are about is setting up a framework where the new life can happen. And what the new life actually was, he never said. He never expressed it. Maybe it can't be expressed. Maybe it's completely inexpressible. So anyway, that's just a thought. So this is just some general perspectives on it. So let me read a little bit of the write-up, which you, by the way, here's I just wanted to take a glance back at what we've done here at Meherana in previous years. First was on infinite intelligence in the context of Meher Baba's writings. That was the very first we ever did. And the next, bondage and the road to freedom. The third, God speaks as the master framework for an integrated cosmology as revealed to the world by Avatar Meher Baba. So that was the first plunge into God Speaks. Then Meher Baba's discourses as guidance to the seeker, selected topics studied in the context of God Speaks and his other works. So this is the one we've done on relating to the discourses primarily. Then Francis Brabazon's epic masterpiece should be Stay with God, should be in there, as a proclamation of Meher Baba's avatarhood and foundation laying for the New World civilization. By the way, there's a new edition of Stay with God is just about to come out. And I'm the editor of it, and one of the features that has a glossary that identifies just about every reference in Stay with God, because that's one of the challenges of that. So then, let me see. Then we went back to infinite intelligence in Meher Baba's Darshana, a study of Meher Baba's 1926 dictation in the context of God Speaks, Discourses in God's Hand, How It All Happened, other philosophical writings. I think this had advanced a good deal over the previous treatment a few years earlier. Then Tiffin Lectures, which had just come out, and the spiritual training of the Mandali, Meher Baba's early working with his inner circle of close male disciples. That's what he gave the Tiffin Lectures to. That was published in 2017. Then the early Meherabad dispensation, Meher Baba's discourses during the first flowering of the Meherabad ashram, 1925 to 1931. That was an anticipation of what came next, which is creation and its causes. So that earlier one was infinite, in God's Hand, Infinite Intelligence, Tiffin Lectures, and Creation and Its Causes. And that came out the next year. We had a program up on it, even though the book had only just appeared. So it was actually the focus for 2 years. Creation and Its Causes, Meher Baba's revelations to the Meher Ashram boys in 1927 to 28 on the subjects of creation, cosmology, and the spiritual path. And then last year, this again tried to integrate this greater collectivity of Baba's works, especially creation and its causes. So an integrated darshana, creation and its causes in the context of God speaks, infinite intelligence, and other major dictations of Avatar Meher Baba. So all of these have really been about his message. This is going to be the first on his life. I don't entirely know how to make this go, so I'll have to hope from the help from you all. Because so here's the description which you've seen. I'd like to read it since it does. This was, by the way, we're going to do this in 2020, but then COVID intervened, and then creation and its causes intervened. So finally, we're getting back to this topic. On 16th October 1949, Meher Baba renounced the old life that he had lived until then, with all its trappings of perfect masterhood and followers and ashrams and so-called spirituality, and with 20 companions set out on a new life of helplessness and hopelessness. There are a couple of catchphrases. This is one of them. Another is the enjoyment of suffering. Another phrase that came up early was satyanashi. That means utter ruination, calamitous destruction. Sounds good, doesn't it? So when we have New Age advertising, buy such and such a product and enjoy all the catastrophes as it breaks down and fails you in every way. Yeah.
Isn't that the same thing that Francis and Claire prescribed for their followers?
Yeah, there is a lot of that in them. Yeah, you do see something like this with Francis, actually. I mean, I think fundamentally, with the great masters, they, have lived the same great spiritual truth. But again, I haven't seen these themes enunciated in this way. The enjoyment of suffering, okay, there might be certain moments in Francis's life, but on the whole, have you seen that before? Buddha renounced, but you're supposed to enjoy it. How do you enjoy suffering exactly? Seems impossible. Or helplessness and hopelessness. Aren't they universal? Wouldn't that be like depression? But Baba has given to those things a completely new meaning.
Well, enjoyment of suffering is contrary to suffering. You're suffering. So
Yeah.
it's supposed to counteract it.
Yeah. So it's impossible. How can you, it won't be suffering anymore?
Well, you have the mental concept of enjoyment
Yeah,
and apply it to suffering. Good luck.
yeah. I mean, like, the best I can do when I'm at the top of my form, so far as suffering goes, is I can put up with it. I usually can't, but at my very best, I'll put up with it. Enjoy it? How do you enjoy it, actually? But anyway, he's cutting all ties with his old life disciples and devotees. So for 2.5 years, Baba and his companions wandered without fixed residence or headquarters around the Indian subcontinent, at times begging for food and sleeping under the stars. Baba's activities encompassed and this is a big theme of the new life, these 4 phases. The so-called Langodi, Gypsy, begging, and labor phases. Langodi is a loincloth, right? He drafted 3 major plans for his companion. You've seen these plans 1, 2, and 3. And plan 1 had 1A, 1B, and 1C. So if you want to be a New Age bureaucrat, New Life bureaucrat, know that there's scope for you. Actually, this is another aspect of the New Life, and I wish I had a better word for this, but there's a big legalistic dimension to it. Can someone think of a nicer word than legalistic?
Administrative?
Well, it's that, but it's rules. It's like Baba would say, the conditions. And, he would say, I have failed to keep up to the conditions of it.
It's kind of bureaucratic.
Bureaucratic, and those are all negative words, but if we had a good positive way of saying that, that's a big part of the new life.
There must be some Latin word.
Yeah, we would go back to the Latin. And if that fails, we go back to the Greek. Maybe the Arabic can help us. But in his oath, it seems like the key term in it, in the oath that he gave when he announced the new life, and he kept referring to it later, is adherence to the conditions. And we'll read the conditions. That'll be part of our topic tomorrow. And there are rules, Okay, he drafted 3 plans. He served the poor and worked with the musts. And here's another question. Baba said his work with the musts and with sadhus and with the poor, especially musts, was completely different than his work with the musts had been before that. How? What was the point of working with the musts if he's an ordinary man, if he's not doing his universal work? And he completed major seclusions. The new life came to a head between October and February 1951-52 with what Baba called Manonash, or the annihilation of the mind. And through this radical act, Meher Baba drew the new life to a close, stepping into a new kind of life in which the old and new lives were both encompassed. He said that very explicitly. He recovered his old life Meher Baba state and combined it with his new life state. This was the life that provided the platform for his public declaration of avatarhood in February 1954. You're aware of that. That was, he was in Hamirpur in February 54. And the people there were very simple and poor and illiterate, uneducated, but they were on fire with love, and they were singing bhajans. Did any of you hear this story from anyone?
Yeah, when we were there.
Yeah. Where Eric talked about it, or in Hamirpur?
No,
When you were up in Hamirpur?
yeah, I'm trying to think of his name, the man who lives there, the nature guy.
Yeah, there was, I'm forgetting, not Keshav, Nigam, Keshav.
Keshav.
Yeah,
would talk about that a great deal. He went to a particular place and said, this is where he said this.
right.
It was a big deal that he did that there.
They were singing bhajans
Yeah.
all through the night, so I heard it. Is that right?
Yeah, and it was that way that particular night too. Suddenly they got all roused and we could hear it all night long.
Right, they were in
Yeah.
sort of
That was-
static
You
state.
could feel it though, it was
Yeah.
powerful.
And at about, I think 1:30 in the morning, Baba raised his hands and gestured, Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. It happened that way. He, before that, had given a message, the highest of the high, in September, where he sure seems to be implying that he's the highest of the high. But if we can get to that message at the end of this program, a curious thing about it is that he never categorically says he's the highest of the high. He says, if I am the highest of a high, it behooves you to do this and to that. If I'm not the highest of the high, then I'm just an ordinary man. And it's always this if business. He never makes a categorical assertion. Why? What? Why didn't Baba just say it? But in Hamirpur, he did. He did say it.
In a lot of considerations of Christology, the conundrum is how can God be man and how can man be God?
Yeah.
Because there's a paradox there, because they're irreconcilable.
Right.
Is it possible that this new life culminating in annihilation and then a declaration of completion is a resolution of that conundrum that the clerics in the church have been struggling with for 2,000 years.
Yeah, I mean, it could be with the merging of the old life with the new life, where out of the new life he merges into what is life. By the way, the major source of information, original source about the new life, was the New Life circulars. And starting February 1952, those ended and we get the Life circulars. And those continued until Mayor Baba dropped his body. So, yeah, that's a big question you're raising. But we could look at that, because this seems to have everything to do with that, where he's becoming an ordinary man. When he had that meeting in Hyderabad to anticipate in 1951 in June, he did give a discourse, actually. It's one of the very few. But he said, I'm talking from the standpoint of an ordinary seeker. But he goes over the three great paths. Gyan, Karma, Bhakti, right? That Gyan is the path of knowledge, Karma is the path of action, and Bhakti is the path of devotion or love. And those are traditionally the three great paths in Hinduism. And Meher Baba confirmed that. He accepts that formulation. But he discusses all three of them. And to my reading of it, it says, in fact, he says that the masters took stock of the situation that humanity is in. And what he means is that we're in, that I'm in, Meher Baba, right? And, being bound by sanskaras, and sanskaras are rooted in the mind. And he says, in the sight of this, the great masters mapped out these three great paths to the annihilation of sanskaras and the annihilation of mind, right? But they're impossible. It's the most pessimistic review of the three paths I have ever seen. He says, well, the problem is that you're going to fall for this trap, or you're going to fall for that trap. And when I look at them, I'll say, yeah. Every one of those traps, it's like, the first thing I'm going to do is fall for that trap. And, you can't do it. And here's how I read this, my interpretation. Baba didn't say this, but I'm thinking, the avatar as a seeker is looking at the paths and says, they can't be done. People can't do them. So he took on the archetypal act of destroying the mind itself, going right to the root of the problem, annihilating the mind. And I'm imagining a huge log jam got broken up so that the paths can be opened up again. Baba didn't say this, but I'm speculating that this would be part of the significance of Manonash. He was doing for all humanity, these three paths of knowledge, action, and love, well, they're to get rid of the mind. If they don't work, he's just going to do it. He's going to get rid of the mind. I always love it that during that meeting, we'll get back to this, and it'll come up again, but Baba said, Dr. Ghani said that he thought that Hazrat Babajan had annihilated my mind back in 1913. How come it needs to be done again? And Baba said, because Ghani is my childhood friend, I forgave him for asking such a question. Well, it seems to me that it's a pretty darn good question, isn't it? And I strongly suspect that what Ghani understood very well, Baba's the avatar, and he's doing something of universal significance. So he was asking a question to poke Baba into speaking about that. And Baba said, no man, I'm not taking the bait. I'm not talking about it. Yeah.
So, no mind. And then the coming age when he returns is,
No, I would really appreciate it if you would use the mic.
oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
I know, we're coming deaf.
The coming age of intuition.
Yeah.
And there you might not have mind. You know, so, and I'm wondering if all this is a precursor
To the age of
to
intuition.
the age of intuition, when it's supposed to be happening. It sure doesn't look like it's happening right now.
Yeah.
So that's
Now,
another.
there's a question I hadn't thought about, the relation of the new life to intuition. Yeah. Now, that'd be a good top theme for us to keep in mind throughout this whole time. Don Stevens used to have all these programs on intuition. Should get the Ouija board and get him to channel. Yeah.
How can you keep it in mind if the point is to have no mind?
Well, you can keep it in mind until Manonash happens. Now, since you've had it happen, you can raise that question. But for the rest of us, we have to keep it in mind.
The answer lies on the other side of the experience that I have of Manonash, which is recursive. So
You have to go back again after Manonash?
if Baba had to go back when Gandhi called him on it,
You have to do?
he sets the pattern for our new life, does he not?
So after getting Manonash, we have to go back and undo it and do it again, huh? Well, that sounds pretty pessimistic. Okay, while the community of Baba's lovers generally agrees that the new life holds a special place, I don't know whether you agree with this or not, but I've seen this a lot, I feel it, in the progression of Baba's life, and somehow prepares the ground for a new humanity in the ages to come. It remains profoundly enigmatic and often baffling. What exactly was the new life? Most of Baba's statements describe it in purely negational terms. I don't know, maybe you'll contest on this, but just on the superficial way there, don't do this and don't do that. Setting forth rules and restrictions and prohibitions. Yet amid the impossible difficulties, in the years afterwards, some of the companions that we met said that this was the freest time during all their years with Meher Baba. How to reconcile such stark contradictions, how to fathom the essence of a life that exhibits no visible positive content and indeed eludes unequivocal terms of characterization. And what are we to make of Baba himself and the roles he played through this 3-year interlude? During the old life, he generally presented himself as a God-realized Sadguru. I would say that was, on the whole, the role he played. People seem to know that he was Avatar and said about him, but generally it was a kind of a perfect master sort of role that he played. At the outset of the new life, he stepped down from this office and became an ordinary seeker of God. But through the course of Manonash, he seems to have regained his divine station. He did say so. He said, I have regained the old life Meher Baba state, along with the new life state, and indeed augmented it to the point of establishing the grounds of his avatarhood. What work was he engaged in through this strange process? Who was this man? Was the Meher Baba of the new life the same one that his lovers pray to today and relate themselves to as their friend and beloved and master? By the way, Meher Baba did say, you're free to think of me as God or the devil or the master or anything that you want, but don't say it. He didn't exactly say that, but you can't give expression to that. But he didn't prohibit them from believing it, actually. So here are some of the, okay, let's read a couple of them. Oh, okay, first, just a survey of the new life. broadly speaking. By the way, this is in this book, Tales from the New Life in the appendix. It's in the back of it. So, the 22nd June, 31st July, the Great Seclusion. Meher Baba secludes himself for most of the period in the Blue Bus at Mirasad, except for about 10 days in Pune. Most of you has everyone here been to Mirasad? So you know the Blue Bus there, right? It was there. Padre set it up that way for the Great Seclusion, actually. 15th to 31st August 1949. Meetings at Meherabad, in which Meher Baba announces the new life, describes its conditions, and selects new life companions. This was the biggest shock his followers had ever encountered until that time. He was going, if you didn't join him, you had to assume you would never see him again in your life. Okay, 16th October. The new life begins as Meher Baba with his 20 companions sets out from Ahmednagar. They walk to Shirur and from there in train to Belgaum. I'll pull up maps in a second. We'll go over this from that way. If you've gone through Shirur, if you've traveled from Pune to Nagar, it's one of the towns on the way. 20th October to 12th November. So 16th October until the 31st of December 49 was the training period. Baba characterized it that way. But especially the training period was in Belgaum, 20th October to 12th November. The training period of Belgaum, Dr. Ghani composes the Song of the New Life. Dr. Daulat Singh is sent away from Baba to live the new life from his home in Hyderabad. By the way, I should do a new one of them, but this was done specifically for this book, referring to episodes that appear in this book. There are other things that happen too. Okay, 15th to 31st November 1949. The begging life in Benares. Doctors Nath and Kare and their families. You know where Benares is? You've heard of Benares. Varanasi. Yeah, it's the most famous place in India for pilgrimage and taking a bath in the Ganges and so forth. Dr. Kare and their families provide Baba and party with lodging and food. Dr. Nath gives Baba in Biksha a menagerie of animals, including the white horse, for use in the gypsy life and in planning. Okay, so the begging life began then. Then, 1st to 12th December 1949, stay in Sarnath. Have any of you been to Benares, by the way? You been there? So you saw the ghats and the river and all that kind of thing. Did you take a bath?
Oh, yeah.
You did? Did you go to Sarnath? It's close.
Yes.
It's about 10 miles, right? Or something like that.
Time was gone.
Yeah. It's quite close. And Sarnath is associated with the life of the Buddha. It's where he gave his first great sermon, fire sermon. So stay in Sarnath. Baba and companions visit sacred sites associated with Buddha. Then, 12th December 1949 to 12th January 1950. And a big date during this period was the 1st of January 1950, where he said the new life is starting in real earnest on that day. All this before was a training period. But the journey from Sarnath to Dehradun, I'll show you a map in a minute where you can see what these places are. By the way, the book, Bhau's book, has lots of maps. It's great that way. Baba and party travel with a caravan and a menagerie of animals, begging for food, often from poor villagers, conducting the gypsy life. This is the period where they really did the gypsy life. And enduring the rigors of winter in North India. On 31st December, the New Life training period ends, and on 1st January 1950, the New Life begins in real earnest. This was the one period where the group really did the gypsy life. Then, 12th January 1950, Baba and party arrive in Dehradun and are received there by Keki Nalavala, Shatrughan Kumar, and their families. Did any of you meet Keki or Kumar? Did you ever meet them?
Yeah.
You met them, yeah. Oh, you were up there. Was Kumar there? That's Amrit's dad.
Yeah, exactly.
And Keki, or Keka, as Baba renamed him, is father of Nashwan Anzar, editor of the Globe. Nashwan was there. He was a toddler at the time. For the next 4 months, a bungalow in the village of Manjri Mafi, outside Dehradun, serves as Baba's headquarters. I presume it's, when I look at Google Maps, it looks like Dehradun has encompassed it now. It's still there. It's one of the important Baba places in the world. It's renamed, the town is renamed Meherana now. I never went. Did you get to Manjri Mafi?
Yes.
Yeah. Kumar lives close, right?
I don't know where he lived in regard to that. Around that area, for sure. Being Kumar.
Yeah, he sold them the property, actually. He came into Baba's contact during the New Life. Okay, late January 1950. Again, this was written for the book Tales from the New Life, so it focuses on things that come up there. Todi Singh and family provide and cook food for the entire New Life party. So we'll see how all that happened. It was a dramatic story. Baba formulates New Life plans 1, 2, and 3. 4 of his male companions opt for plan 1C and return to their homes to live the new life there, cut off from outward contact with Baba. When they left, they were presuming they would never see Baba again. So this was Gani, Adi, Baba's secretary, Anna, Jakal, and Bhavadas, those 4. So it was quite a moment there. Big change then. So then we had these 3 New Life plans. March and April 1950, with a small coterie of companions, Baba shifts residence to the village of Motichur, and from there carries out his work of contacting saints and sadhus at the Kumbh Mela in Haridwar. I imagine most of you have heard of the Kumbh Mela, right? I read that at the last one, at 2019, they said that 200 million people came total, and 50 million on one day, actually. So it's the biggest such gathering in the whole world. Now, back then it probably wasn't that big, but it was big, right? A big event. I just, this morning, downloaded some pictures from the internet so we can look at those, just to get a visual image of the scene there. So Motichur was, I don't know, Haridwar was maybe 40 miles from Dehradun, something like that. And so Baba needed to be closer if he was going to go in every day. So he had a little hut away from Manjri Mafi. The women and most of the companions stayed in Manjri Mafi. Okay, 14th April to early May 1950, Baba resumes residence at Manjri Mafi. Early May to 24th May 1950, Baba moves to Delhi, and a group of his companions in the labor phase inaugurate the New Life ghee business. Someone describe what ghee is?
Clarified butter.
Clarified butter, yeah. It's great for cooking in, right?
Yeah, it doesn't burn.
Doesn't burn, yeah. Alan Wagner, who's the chef at the Mayor Pilgrim Center, says when he himself cooks, he just has vegetables fried in ghee. That's what he likes. But,
We're gonna have ghee this week.
okay, okay,
You can buy it everywhere.
yeah,
It's easy to buy ghee.
yeah.
We have a rice and dal meal.
So you have to announce the ghee part of it.
Yeah.
We're gonna do the ghee thing. I presume you're not making the ghee.
I have before, it just takes a long time to
Uh-huh.
stir out the solids, you know.
Yeah, you've done it actually. Has anyone else made ghee?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so they had a business at making ghee for sale at the perfect time of year. May in New Delhi. Now, New Delhi is much hotter than Abdulla is. And May is the peak of summer. So you imagine a big cauldron with flames boiling inside. Perfect time to start a ghee.
All the solids fall down, and you have to keep stirring it so they don't burn, and then the clarified
Rises.
rises, and then eventually you pour that off. But this, you got your face over it, you know, because you're watching the solids, and yeah.
Well, if you want to practice the enjoyment of suffering, it sounds to me like a great way of doing it.
And the thing is, I was doing like a quart.
Yeah.
I mean, they were doing like
They're doing vats of it.
big vats.
Vats, yeah. So this was a business, Baba. Baba put them all into temporarily restricted Plan 1B. So again, if you're envisioning yourself as a new life bureaucrat, there's scope for you. So the business is unsuccessful financially, and after 2 weeks it is closed down. Okay, here's another thing about the new life. Okay, the critics of Mayor Baba, who say he's a phony, he's a fraud, one of the things they can say is he kept starting things up and stopping them before they ever really got going. And that actually is true throughout his whole life. So you've got abundant evidence. But the new life, here's a case of it. They barely got started, and it was unsuccessful business. So here's another question. Can you live the new life and have a successful business? Yeah.
Wasn't it one of the principles of Baba's life that he never touched money?
He would touch it to give people.
As prasad.
Yeah. And there, it seems like a general principle, but he himself was not doing the New Life ghee business. They were actually separate from him. He sort of kicked, they were in Plan 3, and because they're, such third stringers as disciples and companions, they got kicked out and put in temporarily restricted 1B. But Baba was not in that. So they were separate from him at the moment, actually. But they weren't supposed to touch money either, but I think in certain circumstances they could, like if they were buying cream for the ghee business or things like that. Kakabaria was in charge of the money and he would manage it.
Interestingly enough, the women were told to also, and they did, they made blankets and this and that, which they sold pretty well, and they were successful.
Yeah, they actually
But he
sold
still told them to stop.
dresses. I think they earned 300 rupees or anything.
Yeah.
And at one point they were supposed to make puppets,
Yeah.
but then Baba shut that down too.
So even though it was working, he shut it down.
Now, the other business was, we'll get to it, but Dr. Duncan was supposed to start a dispensary. And that wasn't being very successful. But again, it's sort of like, you gotta make things run for a while before they work. But anyway, is this part of his avataric work? Okay, Baba, June to October, okay, big change. Up until now, all right, from November until June, Baba was in North India. I'll be showing you a map in a minute. But now that's the end of the new life in North India for the most part. Then he shifted down, they call it South India. It's sort of central, the Deccan Plateau mostly. Baba with his companion shifts to the south of India and takes up residence in Satara. For several weeks, from late August to mid-September, Baba moves his base of operations to Pune, and then Bombay, where he stays in the apartment in Nariman Arnavas at Chanji. He was starting to have contact with old life people, certain old life people again. We haven't really gone over it, but he had completely cut all links before this. But certain people did get to play a role. In mid-September, Baba returns to Satara. On 1st October, Baba with the women moved to the Aga Khan's bungalow in Mahabaleshwar. Okay, I'll be showing you a map in a minute, since probably a lot of people don't know where these places are. Satara and Mahabaleshwar are pretty close to each other. Although Mahabaleshwar is up on a mountain and Satara is in the plains. Okay, 16th October 1950, a big date, major date in the new life. For a single day, Baba steps back into the old life during a meeting with a select group of his old life followers in Florence Hall in Mahabaleshwar. That's the Aga Khan's bungalow. Any of you been there to the Florence Hall? Any of you get there? I went to Mahabaleshwar, but they were building a hotel and they wouldn't let us in. So I saw the gate, that's all. But you used to be able to go there. Baba gives a major message, Baba's sermon, and formulates plans for the coming months. So this is one of the real major messages of the new life. It's one of the great messages of all time. Because Baba wasn't in the new life, he stepped back into the old life for 4 hours. And a lot happened at that meeting. And old life followers got invited, much to their surprise. Okay, so the way I'm understanding the new life, and you guys can, disagree or have your own perspectives, but it's like this whole first year was focused to a considerable extent on Baba trying to live the new life with his companions. But by this time, he canceled all the plans. They became servant companions. And he did it himself. That's what it looks like to me. I mean, they were coming along for the ride and they were trying to live the new life. But it seems like he himself was trying to do the main work. But I don't know, see what you think, what your opinion is on all of that. Okay, late October through January 1951, a 3-month period. Baba collected money, by the way, at this meeting for this work. Traveling extensively throughout India from north to south, Baba carries out work with musts and the poor. This work includes a Lengodi episode in the temple of Ramakrishna in Dakshineshwar. That's right now encompassed within Calcutta. And begging nearby, famine relief in Calcutta, and service to formerly wealthy but now destitute families, with notable episodes including a poor woman with a statue of Krishna on Diwali Day in Gudur, and a former prince in Hyderabad. The book Tales from the New Life gives really moving accounts of this. These are very famous stories. So this whole work, Baba was going all over the place with just mostly, except there was a little moment where he was back in Mahabaleshwar for Christmas time. Okay, 13th February to 24th May 1951, Baba carries out his 100-day seclusion, which begins and ends in Florence Hall in Mahabaleshwar, but includes periods of residence and work in Guruprasad in Pune, in the Nariman and Arnavas's apartment in Bombay. And now, my impression of the new life is that it was really devastating on all of those who were with Baba the whole time. But most of all, it was devastating on Baba himself. And what seems to have been the very hardest of all was his seclusion work. And he came out of this a wreck. He said so himself. And when they had the meeting in June, Baba was asking all of them, hadn't seen him since the beginning of the new life, how do I look? And people said, you look very thin and very exhausted. And Baba said, yeah.
You know, Mayor one, Jess Wallace said that when he first saw him, he just wept.
Yeah. Said he looked like a plucked chicken. You know. He was gaunt, he was in terrible health. The Kumbh Mela had done a number on him also, but it was really this. This seclusion was what really devastated him. And again, you know, we know some about the externals of it, but what the heck he was doing, you know. Maybe in the future there'll be people who will come along and tell us, you know. I bet there will be. You know, when you read about people like Ibn Arabi and so forth, they'll say, yeah, here's what he was doing in the seclusion. I bet it will happen over the next 700 years. We'll see. 20th to 30th June 1951. At a meeting in Hyderabad with select old life followers, Baba announces the impending phase of Manonash. During the 100-day seclusion, Baba had said, God is going to make me carry out a God-determined step. And he said, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but I feel that God will make me do this. And it was only at this time that Baba said God revealed to him what that was. And what that was Manonash, the Manonash phase. And he announced it here with 75 followers were invited to Hyderabad. Any of you been to Hyderabad? Chris has been the only one, you know. It's one of the great places. And it has a deep connection with Manonash. So Hyderabad was kind of the headquarters for Baba for a while, and the women stayed there almost until the end of Manonash. And all the disciples who didn't accompany Baba stayed there also. So it's an important place. Baba really praised Hyderabad highly. He said it's the best place in the world. It has a perfect blend of head and heart. And it is a great place. It has a very big Baba group. I'd say the biggest Baba group in the whole world is in Hyderabad, seems to me.
They were just here, some of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I heard about that, yeah.
Bus. Just
Yeah.
a couple, 3 weeks ago or something.
Yeah, no, I heard about that. No, they're a fabulous group. One of the principal workers, his name is Balaji, just died a few months ago.
Oh, we did, yeah.
He was in terrible health, awful health his whole life. Okay, July to early October 1951. Preparations for Manonash. By the way, at this meeting in Hyderabad, Baba opened it up to participation by any of those attended who could say yes. And I think about 21 of them did say yes, and Baba interviewed them. And in the end, he cut it down to 6. That would be Erich, Hindu, Gustaji, Baidul, but also Abdulla Singh, he was back in it, and Minu Karash. Minu Karash got sick and he couldn't come. But Dalit Singh did accompany them for the first month or so. He got sick and had to go home. Baba arranges for the creation of alabaster models representing 5 religions. Have some of you seen these models? Yeah. They're in the museum, I think. They're beautifully crafted. I mean, it must have been a high-skill artisan who made them. In mid-August, Eric meets with Mr. Reddy, I put this in because this entails from the New Life, a police commissioner who arranges for Baba's non-harassment by the police during the Manonash wanderings. By the way, this was a theme in the New Life. You know, it was right after partition, just 2 years, and there was a lot of volatility in the world. There had just been the terrible riots and mass murder between the Muslims and Hindus, you know, with Pakistan and India separated. And there was a lot of concern about communist revolutionaries. And so the police kept harassing them because of that. They looked very odd, this group of people. The companions find a suitable Manonash cave outside Hyderabad. You can still go there. In the course of their moving there, the car suddenly runs out of control and carries on with strange antics, to the astonishment of Erich and other onlookers. I put that in because it's a great description. Some of you know that story, right?
Yeah.
Where it started jumping and over rocks and backing up and crazy behavior. I trust your cars didn't do this as you drove here to Meherana. 16th to 24th October 1951. Baba begins Manonash with his seclusion in the Manonash cave in Kojaguda. During this seclusion and throughout the remainder of Manonash, Baba works extensively with the 5 alabaster models. Yeah, I haven't mentioned this, but another big theme of the New Life was religion. From beginning to the end, at many points, Baba would have prayers recited. He would have readings from the scriptures of the great religions. Not a little, a lot. Right to the end. For hours, they do it. I was actually thinking maybe with this group, at certain points, just to have the New Life experience, maybe we could read out, I selected some of these things. The Sermon on the Mount, or I took something, a little bit from the Avesta or from the Quran. I don't know, are you game for it? I mean,
Yeah.
Baba did it. So, and then 24th August to 7th November 1951, Baba with his companion. So Manonash had, you could say, 4 phases. The Manonash cave phase, the wandering from Hyderabad up to Aurangabad. I'm sure many of you will have been there, is that right? The Ellora Caves is close to Aurangabad. The work in Aurangabad, and then the final phase, which was at Merazad. They always called it Pimple Down in those days. They didn't call it Merazad yet. So here, Baba with his companions, Erich Pindu, Gustachi, Baijo, and Dalit Singh, travels by foot and sometimes vehicular conveyance from Hyderabad to Aurangabad. Then 8th to 21st November, Baba continues his Manonash work in the vicinity of Aurangabad, particularly in connection with the Ellora Caves, Sufi sites at Koldabad, and other places with religious associations. Again, it's like all about religion. I mean, I think Baba was doing major time work with the religions of the world through the New Life. And then 21st November to 16th December 1951, Baba with his 4 companions, Dalit Singh having fallen ill and returned home, travels to Merazad en route, stopping for the night in Imampur, and begins his seclusion in a cabin on Seclusion Hill. Now, I'm sure some of you will have been to Imampur, is that right?
Yeah.
It's that mosque, it's about, if you haven't, be sure to go next time you go to India, because it's, you're going to Merazad, and where the road turns left, you go straight for 5 or 8 miles, and it's a mosque on the right-hand side. Memorable episode happened there. And then at the very end of it, 16th December 1950 through 31st January 1952, the Manonash cabin moved from the top of the hill to Meherazad residence, is reassembled by Padre, and Baba continues his seclusion there, carrying the Manonash phase to completion. Baba said he was, after this, he was completely satisfied with the work done. A momentous Duni on the 31st January. Notice that date. Any of you recall something, that slip of paper, what happened to that? Anyone else want to tell the story? Remember what was written on it? Huh? He wrote, all the rites, rituals, and ceremonies of the world are hereby consumed in flames. So Eritrea and Baba threw it into the fire. Then the next day they took the ashes from the fire and put it in these tins. And Baba said, these should never be opened. So I don't know, where are they, Archives building?
Yeah.
Or?
East room.
East room. They were in the East room, but they're probably in the Archives building now. And I heard that when they moved them, they were, ashes are light, right? But
They
these,
are, not
when you pack
depends
it.
how much you've been burning. But I've got the boxes of ashes from my husband and my son. They're heavy,
Oh,
Well, they
okay.
have.
because that's burning bone, which is mineral.
Yeah. They have
But this is wood, they're burning wood. Would that produce
And
heavy?
I don't know what you get when.
Anyway, they said they were extraordinarily heavy. Whatever that may mean. And then the 6th February 1952, this is another one of the great messages of the Avatar Advent, this one, this circular. In the first of his life circulars, Baba speaks of the wrapping up of Manonash and announces the emergence of life as a new phase. In the outward life of Meher Baba, the new life comes to an end. So that's a brief survey of the new life. Yeah.
I just wanted to say that we were at Meherana this year, and we were in the clinic. Chris slept in the clinic,
Yeah.
and so we were reading this book, Bob's book. And there's a picture of the barricade they had around it, and where the Dooney was and everything, and we're going. It's right there, but it was very powerful. And I thought of this course.
Yeah.
That everybody was going to be doing it, and it was still felt very much alive there.
Yeah, the Manonash cabin, when Padre tore it, there were these two cabins on top of the hill, Seclusion Hill. Padre tore them down and reassembled them in Meherazad, and that's Erich's room, King Erich's room. But as you say, it was completely cut off from the rest of Meherazad. There were other people at Meherazad, and no one could see Baba. I think Baba might have seen Meherana a little bit, but except for people involved in the Manonash work, you couldn't see Baba. There were these bamboo mattings, is that what it was, all around?
It was quite high, and it went like even with that number 7 room and all the other rooms. We went out and walked it from the picture, we figured it out.
It was all cut off from the rest of Meherazad. Yeah. But then, after that Dooney, all that was disassembled. And Baba came out and the seclusion ended. By the way, I didn't mention this, that throughout the new life, there were communications with Elizabeth Patterson had she been in Myrtle Beach already? Because she was building the center. And about Baba wanting to come to the West, and he said, living the new life in the West. It wasn't like interviews or the old stuff. He wanted to come with a group and live it there. it kept not working out. In 1950, it didn't work out. So then he was going to go in 1951. It didn't work out. But then he wound up going in 1952, in May, June. By the way, there's a school of opinion centered in Myrtle Beach that Manonash actually came to an end there because apparently Baba did some seclusion work when he first arrived, I think in April maybe. Is that when he went? Was it April or May? And Eric said that Baba had finished the last bit of Manonash work there. I'm of the other school of opinion that that's an outlier. So, you know, we start having factions and schisms. There's another nice topic. But what comes to my mind is that Baba meant to go to the West during the New Life and hadn't. So I'm sort of supposing maybe there was something to be finished up there. Anyway.
He didn't have any programs or visitors or anything when he first got there.
When he first got there,
Because
yeah.
he said he was doing that.
Yeah. So maybe there was some, I'm sure there must be some truth to it. Nonetheless, it does seem to me that the fundamental change happened at the end of January, early February. But you can join the Myrtle Beach School of Opinion if you like on that. So this is a brief picture. And let me show you some maps. So you get an idea where we are. If I get the maps, come on. Okay. Oh, here it is, yeah. No, but this isn't the one I want. How do I get? Shoot, I think it's up here. I don't know how to manipulate very well. Let me move it to my own screen and maybe, oops, but no, I won't be able to do that either. No, it won't move. Darn. Okay, let's see, can I do it from here? No. Let me take, how do I minimize this?
Top right,
Here?
a little higher. There you go.
But there should be another one open, I know I opened it. How do I get
What program was it?
Google Maps.
Oh,
I don't see the Google icon at the bottom, do you?
No. Well, it's here.
Okay. Here, what if I go like this?
Oh, here we go, yes.
Oh,
There we go.
thank you, Jim.
All right.
If you couldn't see the choices.
Yeah, isn't there, okay.
Google Whisperer.
So this is what we just went over to see how the new, since a lot of you might not know where some of these places are, okay. So the new life began, it's not showing up yet, I guess I have to expand a little more. Yeah, okay, the new life began in Ahmednagar. It actually began at the level crossing in Ahmednagar. You can go there if you want. It's right at the train station. That's where they met and started walking from there. And they walked this way. They walked south. To here, Shirur, you see that? They walked to Shirur over several days. And then they took a train. Here's Satara, by the way. Here's Pune. Pune is how you'll see it in the book. But here's Satara. And Mahabaleshwar is up in this area. But they went down to, where is it? Yeah, here it is.
Belgium.
Yes, it's Belagavi now, but this is Belgaum down here. And this is where they were for the first, see there it is, right? Pune, Nagar up here somewhere. So they went down here for the training period. And from there, they took a train up. Now it was, don't find Varanasi, where is it?
You're close.
Just above the arrow.
Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. Yeah, Varanasi, which is on the river, the Ganges, right? So that's where they were for a couple of weeks, where they learned the begging phase. And from there, they went to Sarnath, which is just part of Varanasi, probably is part of Varanasi now, where Buddha's place was. And then they began the gypsy life, and they traveled up to, where's Dehradun? Here it is, up to here. So right up here, Varanasi up to here. They had to take the train most of the way, but they walked and went with their caravan. And so, this is one of the last, the Moradabad will show. Yeah, here's Moradabad. They did the vacuum period there, right at the end of December, and then went up to Dehradun. And you see Rishikesh here? So Dehradun to Rishikesh is, a little jaunt. And Hardwar is right here. Yeah, here's Hardwar. It actually shows up on the map. And they're showing. And this is where the Kumbh Mela was. And Rishikesh is where all these ashrams are. You've been to Rishikesh, right? Jim, were you there also? You didn't go. Right in Dehradun, in Rishikesh, the river comes, this is mountains now, right? We're talking about the Himalayas, the biggest mountains in the whole world. So the river comes out of the mountains right at Rishikesh. And Hardwar is just a little bit downstream. And Dehradun is kind of a valley, but this is kind of a mountain range or hills. Did you see that when you were there?
Yeah, well, we went up to Mussoorie, which is, I can't see it very well.
Right here.
But they suggested we go there and we did.
Yeah.
Then I knew what it was like to be chilly without having winter clothes.
Because it's up. Dehradun is like, 1,000, 1,500 feet above sea level, but Mussoorie is 6,000 or 7,000 or 8,000. And of course the mountains are like 20, 25,000. So Dehradun is actually, it's like the plain, well, you see, they're showing a scenic view of it, but it's low and it gets very hot in summer. And Rishikesh, Hardwar. So this was Baba's headquarters from January through about April, May. And then they shifted the base of operations down to Delhi for the ghee business. Perfect time, as I mentioned, for it. Have any of you been in Abdulla in May? It's a heat experience. Yeah. So, but then Baba shifted in June down to South India. So that was kind of the end of that. Down to Satara. And here's Satara right here. So you see, here's Satara, and he was up in this area. So he came way far south. This was Belgaum, not that far, but so Satara. And he was in that neighborhood for the next couple months with some travel, but also went up to, where is Mahabaleshwar is going to show up if I could do a search for it, but it's up here somewhere. It's in these mountainous areas. Oh, here it is, Mahabaleshwar. And here's Panchgani, another place that Baba. So Satara is down on the plains, and Mahabaleshwar is up. It's like a long ridge, It's 4,000 or 5,000 feet up. It's much cooler. And Mahabaleshwar in the monsoon, starting in June, gets huge quantities of rain, like 200 inches. But they were there. They didn't go there in that season. So Baba had this meeting in Mahabaleshwar, right? So people came from Ahmednagar and Pune old life followers. And then Baba did this 3-month, or really about 6 weeks, of work with the poor and musts, where he traveled all around India. And man, I'll tell you, this is one of those, they always said these must tours are utterly exhausting, and you can see why. Right off, they went up to Nepal, and then Baba went down to Calcutta, wherever that is. It's not Calicut, here it is, Calcutta. And then down to Orissa, they now spell it Odisha, here it is. And even down to, there's a town down here, Gudur, and this was Madras back then, in that area. And then Baba went up to various towns in Maharashtra and to Bombay also. So he was going all over the place with just a few people, just 4, 5, 6 people, with his work with the poor. So you read about this work with the poor, but the thing is, it's like, sleeping 2 hours a night or 3 hours a night and train travel all over the place. It was really grueling. But then in February, Baba started his 100-day seclusion. We're back here in Mahabaleshwar again. And it was mostly there, although he did for a month or so move place of seclusion to Pune and to Bombay here. And it was at this time where Baba let them know, the old life followers, that he needed a good bungalow to do his work in Pune. And that's when they found Guru Prasad. You've heard of Guru Prasad, right? And that's for the rest of Baba's life, that was where he went in the summers, that palace there. So they first found that place. Maharani of Baroda let them use it during this 100-day seclusion there. And then Baba shifted over here to Hyderabad, you see. Just to get a perspective. Right now, Hyderabad is in the state of Telangana, but back then it was in the state of Andhra Pradesh. Pradesh means state. Right, so Baba moved from Satara over to Hyderabad, and that was really the headquarters for most of the Mandali for the rest of the new life. Except for those who stayed with Baba. The women stayed in Hyderabad, and most of the servant companions did, except for the few who accompanied Baba. But Baba had this big meeting in June. If we expanded it enough, I could show you where it is. But there's a hill there, Kojaguda, it's called. If you get to Hyderabad, it's a mandatory place to go. It's one of the great places of the Advent. The cave is still there. And in October 16th, the new life began in that cave. I have a bunch of photos I'll show you later on. And from there, Baba went, I won't be able to find it, but it's a little town. He went kind of this way, actually. And there's a little town called Yadgiri, where there was a Jivan Mukta. You know what a Jivan Mukta is? Huh?
I've seen the word.
Yeah.
Six
God
months.
realized.
God realized. It's the 9th state of God. A Majub is in the 8th state of God. They're God realized and unconscious of the universe. And a Jivan Mukta, the 9th state of God, is God realized and infinitely conscious of the universe, but without duty. So that seems like a good destination for some people.
Yeah.
So, but there was one of them there, Chilgur Swami. And, but that, I'm just mentioning it because he's such a major person in the hierarchy. And then they traveled, and there were 5 of them. Gustaji, Pendu, Baijul, Erich, and Dalit Singh. They walked or took buses up to Aurangabad. Let me see, find Aurangabad. And here it is. So this is Aurangabad, and they were in Hyderabad. They went up here, and were there for a couple weeks. There are all these famous places. There's the fort of Dalatabad, there's the Ellora Caves, there's a town called Kuldabad, where it has a great illustrious history connected with Sufism. So it was a great place from a religious standpoint. And from there, they went down to, who's it going to show up? Yeah, Pimplegan, Malvi. This is where Marazad is. So they went to Seclusion Hill, and Baba worked up on the hill, and then Padre moved the cabins down to Marazad, and he finished up the new life in Marazad. So the new life began here and ended here. So that's the new life in maps, and the book has many maps that will blow up little things. So there's a picture. I'm going to bring up anything, lots more we can cover, but yeah.
A lot of these Marathi and Andhra Pradesh and sites in the Ghats figure prominently in the Mysore British East India Company War of the late 18th to early 19th century.
Oh, I didn't know that. I know that the area in Mahabaleshwar was where the neighborhood of Shivaji, which was a little before that. Yeah. I'm sure there's really significant history with all. Hyderabad has a very significant history. It was called Golconda. That was its old name. Quite a illustrious place.
When Baba went to Southeast India, did he go to Pondicherry?
No, he didn't.
Because that's a French colony at the time of that this happened, before it got absorbed like the Portuguese colony Goa.
And Aurobindo was there, Pondicherry. And Baba didn't go there. Aurobindo did come up though, and here's an odd thing. It's not in the book, but it's in Gandhi's diary. In 1949, about a month or two into the new life, the question came up, should we admit new people into the new life? And if so, under what conditions? There was a big discussion about that. And of all things, the question came up, what if Aurobindo wants to join the new life? It's like, what? I mean, he was like 85, and his only conversation about Baba was distinctly disparaging. He obviously didn't know who Baba was. What was that about? Anyway, it's a little odd detail. Now, here are some of the big sources relating to the new life. Oh, yeah, the main book that we're using is, of course, this one, by Bhau. And I really should say, major work was done by Jeff Wolverton. You guys know Jeff Wolverton? Yeah. I mean, he worked on it for 20 years, and so a huge part of it is his. I think it's a wonderful book. I think it's fabulous. It's very accurate. It's very comprehensive. Brings in stories from all over the place. It has all these nice maps. Biff Soper went all around India taking photographs of the different places. Since there aren't very many photos from the new life, but they're great photos.
He took over 100 photos.
Yeah.
We talked to him about it this year.
Yeah. And they did it really well, where they would fool you into thinking they're from that time period.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Yeah, fabulous job.
Yeah.
And it's very readable book, so I think. But there are other books relating to the New Life that should be. One is, of course, Tales from the New Life, which is, this was in 1972. Don Stevens went to Meherana with tape recorder back in those days when dinosaurs still roamed the plains. People used reel-to-reel recorders. I remember them. And you probably, a lot of you do, probably. And so recorded Erich. And at that time, and Erich and Mani was there, chimed in, Rano a little bit. And then in separate sessions, he recorded Mera and Meru. And then a third short session with Mani. And that, this book came out in 1976. And this was the first time for me, and I think for a lot of us, we ever really heard stories about the New Life. I mean, there was hardly anything before that. Now there's a lot of information about it. Anyway, so this is a major book. Also, I have to say, Balnatu's Glimpses of the God-Man is really a fine book. It's really superb. So that's another place. But at the time, all there was this. This is not the original, but published in 1967. That is the New Life Circulars. By the way, at the Trust, we're doing a major editorial project connected with the New Life to get all the sources available in one place, probably several volumes. And this is the one source from the period that's really authoritative. It was the only link Baba kept with the Old Life people. And there are 34 circulars, and Baba carefully oversaw their release. Old Life people couldn't have any contact with Baba. They couldn't go to see him or anything like that, but they did get these. Now the circulars are really an odd assortment of things. There's like diaries are there, one paragraph announcements. One of them is how Baba's having trouble with his eyes. There's financial accounting for what he's doing with his money. There are these big episodes involving Ghani and Shajja Patel that were where they had given the proceeds for houses they owned to the New Life, but then for various reasons wanted the money back. And complicated stories. And Baba had these Old Life Boja funds. Boja is complication funds, where he asked people from the Old Life to donate money to pay it off. Well, this is like dirty laundry, right? All of the correspondence about it between the people concerned is right here in the circulars. So here's another feature of the New Life. Baba hid nothing. Totally out in the open. I mean, you would ordinarily be very discreet about this sort of thing, wouldn't you? Like sort of say, well, could you ask so-and-so who's got a stash of money, just a few people, and keep it quiet? Nothing like that. Completely upfront. Another feature of the New Life. So anyway, these are highly significant items. Here's another thing that, I don't know what that is. This came out. These are my own terrible scans. I didn't have a way of doing them properly, but this is the Song of the New Life. And this is the original publication. It was published in October 1949. So we'll be getting to that. This is the English. Is that me or is this?
I don't know.
Okay.
Is it-
But
It's volume, the volume's still on.
I'm going to be playing that in a minute. Maybe the last thing we do. But this is the song. This is actually written in Urdu or Hindustani, and the English is a translation. So that's a major thing.
Oh my God.
And every time,
It might be your mic.
Oh, it might be your chair.
it's your chair, 'cause every time you move,
I don't know.
Or maybe the
No, I don't think
contact
so.
with,
the
Is it on the cord or?
maybe with the cord.
not cord's touching
It's not even-
something in
Just don't move for it.
pulls it on it and I'm gonna plug it.
No, I would think the cord is for your headphones.
Get frozen like in a high rod.
There might not be a
I'll switch in that.
Yeah. Well, here's an important, what is it? Yeah, here we go. This is, we're working on this right now. Crack again. Is that this? Huh. Anyway, this is Dr. Ghani's diary. And we're working, I've done an edit of this, so that when this new book's come out. So he kept a diary from October 16th, 1949 to January 21st, I think. And from that point, Dr. Nilu kept a diary from January 21st until May 1st. But I do things like this.
We haven't, we can
I'll
switch
get
it
another
out
one.
for a
I'll
while.
switch it for another mic.
But it might be something else.
I don't know, it's your mic.
It's my mic. Anyway, Nilu kept a diary, but then Baba canceled the diary. So the information is much thinner after that. We have detailed daily information till May 1st, 1950. And after that, it's just where we happen to have, there's a circular that came out or someone's reminiscences cover a certain period. But we don't have the same day-to-day stuff for the rest of the new life, unfortunately. I don't know why Baba did that. But now here are some messages from the new life. Really big ones, or some of the few. Let's see. I don't know, do we have someone who'd like to read this out? Here's what it looks like in the circular. This is the original, actually. Does anyone would like to read this out? Do you feel like it? Okay, Linda, yeah.
Although the new life has emerged from me, I am not at all bound by it. Plans 1, 2, and 3 of the new life, with their 4 phases of labor, begging, gypsy, and Lingoti life, will function as long as I am physically alive. But this new life is endless. Even after my physical death, it will be kept alive by those who live the life of complete renunciation of falsehood, lies, hatred, anger, greed, and lust, and who, to accomplish all this, do no lustful actions, do no harm to anyone, do no backbiting, do not seek material possessions or power, who accept no homage, neither covet honor nor shun disgrace, and fear no one and nothing, by those who rely wholly and solely on God and who love God purely for the sake of loving, who believe in the lovers of God and in the reality of manifestation, and yet do not expect any spiritual or material reward, who do not let go the hand of truth, and who, without being upset by calamities, bravely and wholeheartedly face all hardships with 100% cheerfulness, and give no importance to caste, creed, and religious ceremonies. This new life will live by itself eternally, even if there is no one to live in.
That last sentence is one of the great sentences of all time. So this is a very famous and very major new life message. I want to read this one too. And this, the original hasn't really been available, but here it is from Ghani's diary. And they would, okay, the old life, Baba dictated this in 1949, and each morning the companions would recite it. And I love it. It really gives a feeling for the new life. The old life has passed in different ways. Tomorrow also has passed some, today also has passed somehow. Tomorrow be damned, who cares? Okay, that's a very, it's untranslatable, so let me give you a feeling for what it's like in the Hindi. Old life guzari kaisi kaisi, aaj bhi guzari jaisi vaisi, kal ke guzarne ki aisi taisi. Now these are, it's almost like nonsense. It's like the old life passed away, how? Like this, like that. The old life today too passes away somehow. We don't, it's like these. They don't even mean anything. They're like, how did it happen? Like this, like that. It's. I don't know. I wish we could give a feel. Anyway, this is a literal translation. It can't be translated literally. The old life passed away. How? In this way and that. Today too passed away. Of such sort, in which manner? I mean, that's terrible English. But these are like adverbs, like in some manner, some sort. They're just adverbs, and they don't mean hardly anything. And as for tomorrow's passing, this or that. It's funny. It's actually funny.
Where did Dan come from?
Well, Ghani is trying to express the sense. Who cares, It's so idiomatic that it really can't even be translated. But you see, the attitude towards the past, the present, and the future, we don't care. That's the feeling of it. And that really does say something about the new life. It really was like that. We're not worrying about time. Past, present, and future have no present too, because we're not really living in the present. This passing present, we're not engaged with it. We're going through it, but it's not real, and we don't take it as such. So I really think this really does express something about the new life. So,
I love that, it's very freeing.
it is, it's wonderful.
Say it to yourself.
Let me read it one more time and see if you can get the flavor, like kaisi, kaisi, jaisi, vaisi, icy, taisi. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Old life guzari, kaisi, kaisi. Aaj bhi guzari, jaisi, vaisi. Kal ke guzarne ki, icy, taisi. You get the spirit of it? It's funny. It's actually funny,
Well, if we're in an illusion, it's
Yeah.
just like it's all irrelevant.
Yeah, we don't care. We don't care about any of it. Well, that's just giving a feeling of the freedom of the new life. I mean, all these rules and restrictions, they were free from everything. And the very last thing I thought we could do is, I have, the syllabus topics for each day, and we're roughly going to proceed in chronological order. But we don't have to absolutely rigidly, we can move fast or linger or as we like. But I'd like to, how do we get this to happen again? Oh yeah. Oops, I want this again. It's not showing up. Is it up here?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, here it is. No, this isn't it. How about
Make
that?
it go up again. Wait, Peter.
Okay. I'd like to, if we could just listen. This is the song of the new life being sung. And I have could somebody pass this out on a little disaster might befall? 2 pages for each one. I just printed this out this morning, so a set of 2 pages. And these are, this is the song of the new life. It'll take about 10 minutes, so we can break for the day. But this is a really good singer. And Dr. Ghani composed the Song of the New Life in Belgaum in October 1949. And Baba had it printed up then. And they were singing it daily. And also on certain occasions, Baba had accomplished singers he hired who would sing this too. So this one will show you both the... I tried to find a version of it in the Roman script where you could follow it better, but I couldn't find it anywhere. So how do I play it? Let's see if we can get something. We're not having any sound.
Oh, yeah, are you ready?
Sam.
Let's start it over, I'm sorry, I didn't have the volume up there.
Okay.
Okay.
These are the first two lines, and they repeat a lot.
Excuse me, I need a ticket to Barcelona. Do you know where I can buy one? Excusez-moi, j'ai besoin d'un billet pour ma ticket.
Was that an ad?
These are the first two lines again. The caravan. The second verse. The moderns.
Yeah.
The Manonash cave, Hyderabad.
Oh, I didn't know.
We need stories. We need stories to understand ourselves. We're the only
first.